Hey there, everybody. It's wonderful to see you today, day number 5 of 5 days to focus. And let me just get prepared here because we have, as always, our printout for the homework. So, as you can see, today is about you have the power. But before we start this, let me shuffle my papers around here, right? I've got 5 days worth of papers here. Yesterday we talked about let's get physical. We had a little bit of homework to do. Hopefully you were able to do it. But it really was about knowing that there's more than the mental tuning that we need to do. We need to keep our body in shape. We need to keep it in the best shape that we can, right? Maybe not perfect, but better than yesterday and better than yesterday and better than yesterday, if at all possible. And know that physicality affects your brain, right? If you have physical exercise, it cools down your brain. And if you cool down your brain, then you're able to adjust your focus, right? Because you're not all frazzled, you're able to calmly consider things. So, yesterday was all about that. And today, we're going to talk about staying the course. So, one moment, and let me just flip this screen for you. Okay. Okay, muted you while I had a little cough there. So we're going to stay the course. So we've had 4 days of tools and techniques. And so now how do we stay on track? What are some of those things that you do, right? And these may seem out there for some of you, but this is what highly successful people do, right? Because they know they need to be a tool, a resource that is fine-tuned and ready for whatever comes, right? And able to make decisions that are meaningful and move forward. So let's get going and stay the course. Day 5. When the impulse you need to control is strong, waiting out this wave of desire is usually enough to keep yourself in control. Again, when the impulse you need to control is strong, so you have this impulse and it's strong and you need to get it under control, waiting out this wave of desire is usually enough to keep yourself in control. So that means counting to 10. Have you ever heard that? I know I grew up saying, before you open your mouth, count to 10. It might be 20, it might be 30, it might even be 60. But if you hold the impulse and just ride the wave, right? Like a surfer eventually does get to shore, right? You'll be able to get back into control, right? Just think about that. Next time, count to 10. When you feel as if you must give in, the rule of thumb here is to wait at least 10 minutes before succumbing to temptation. So if your impulse is that of eating, for example, or if your impulse is that of flying off the handle, or if your impulse is that of losing control, 10 minutes. That's a long time when you're in the midst. If you haven't nipped the emotion or the impulse at the beginning and you're already in it, right? So the walking it off, you can do that for 10 minutes. It'll help you with the timing, but it's a fact that if you can wait 10 minutes, right? I know that if I am watching what I'm eating, which I do almost all the time, and it's not to diet, folks, it's to be sure that what I eat is healthy and nurturing and nutritious to my body. But sometimes I have the craving for, those chips or the craving for the chocolate. I give into that craving, or for something maybe not so healthy. If I wait 10 minutes, it usually passes. If it doesn't pass, then I, with portion control, will satisfy that need because the desire is more than just an impulse. We get past the impulse, right? Sometimes your body may need the salt, right? So you become an expert at bud nipping or become an expert bud nipper, right? Nip it in the bud, right? Before you go on, before things get out of control, before things are said that you can't take back, right? Before hurts are created that are wounds that just fester. Before, before, right? Nip it in the bud. So if you, again, don't identify the trigger and the wave comes over, before you go to the next step and act on the wave, pull it back, pull it in. Wait the 10 minutes. Become really, really good at being able to get yourself back under control and then look at the situation. Don't push it away, but look at, so what do I have to do? What's the response I need to make here, right? When you find yourself believing the negative things your inner voice says, it's time to stop and write them down. And most of us do believe. Come on, guys, fess up. You do believe what your inner voice says. Oh, I'm so stupid, or that's too hard, or I don't deserve it, or I can't make it. And, why does this happen to me? It's always me. Oh, I love that word. Always, always, always. Right? When you find yourself believing the negative things in your voice, it's time to stop and write them down because we want to get them out and on paper. And we talked about a few exercises earlier about writing it out, writing it out, writing it out, and then maybe ceremoniously burning it. Listen to your language. When words like never, worst, or ever are heard, when you hear those, they are clear indicators your thoughts and statements aren't true. Never, worst, ever. Those statements are not true. Listen to me. Just bear with me for a while. I never get what I ask for. Never. Really never, ever, ever, ever. Never once in your life have you ever. It's not true, right? And so if you hear yourself saying never, stop and think, never. Has there been a time when maybe I did? So why am I feeling poor me, right? Or this is just the worst. I'm sure there are things worse than whatever it is that you think this is the worst, right? Again, ask yourself, really, is that the worst thing that could happen? Is this the worst conversation I could be in? Well, maybe, right? Maybe, but think about it. And ever, you know, this just is going to go on forever, right? And sometimes you feel that way, but universal law, right, tells us that this too shall pass. It is going to end. Everything ends at some point. Everything begins, comes to a peak, and has an end. So when you hear words like that, Then stop and ask yourself emphatically, really? Never, ever, ever? When it feels like something always, that's another one, always, or never happens, this is your brain's natural threat tendency inflating the perceived frequency or severity of an event. So your subconscious mind is inflating. So the perception is getting distorted. And that's one of the things your mind does. It deletes, filters, generalizes, and distorts, right? It distorts the truth, always coming in and in replaying. It distorts. And distortion, that I'll never be able to do that. That keeps me safe from even trying and failing. So I will never fail because I know I never could do that. And when in fact, if you tried, you might fail, but you'll learn something and you might try again and not fail the second time or the third time or the fourth time. If you just keep picking yourself up, if you want it bad enough, you will. But don't listen to your mind saying, "Oh, I'm never going to get there. I keep trying it. I'm never going to get there. I study and I work so hard and I'm never going to get there." Right? I've got the skill sets, but I'll never be recognized. It means you don't have to try. And it is a way of keeping you safe, but it is also a way of keeping you from the greatness of who you really are. And that's why successful people don't do this. They work on this. And when it comes up, they deal with it. Ask yourself, is this thought 100% accurate? Is this thought helpful? What advice would I give to my best friend if they were going through a similar situation? What are the chances of this thought coming true? Right? So we're going on. What are the thoughts of this coming true? What will I think of this in a week? Could there be any other thoughts besides this one? That's a good one. Could there be any other thoughts besides this one? Write that one down, guys. Put that in your journal book on the top of each page. In fact, that might be a homework exercise I'm going to assign people. Any other thoughts? I love it. What will I gain from accepting this thought? What will I gain? If I accept that this is never going to happen, what am I going to gain? Right? Really, what will I lose? Weigh the two of them out. Huge, huge difference. Think about those sentences for yourself, and here they are. Is this thought helpful? What advice, right, would I give my best friend if they were going through a similar situation? What are the chances of this coming true? What will I think of this week or of this in another week? All of those questions are here in your workbook. These are powerful linguistic questions to be asking yourself. And don't give yourself a one-line answer. Don't put it off and avoid the deeper truth. Ask yourself, what will I lose? What will I gain? It's very deep and very serious, and you can do it. So, professional life coach will support your process in developing your focus and your routines. Working with someone like me will ask you these questions and will help you go even deeper and deeper and get to an understanding and a realization of how you might have been holding yourself back in certain situations, right? And it will help you find ways of dealing with these blocks. We all have them. So face it, right? That's one of the ways to deal with the blocks is admit that they're there. Admit that you might feel unworthy. Admit that you might be tired of the struggle. Admit that you've never gotten success before, so what makes you think you'll have it this time? Admit, admit, admit. And then ask yourself, so what will happen if I pick myself up and dust myself off and try again? Oh, I'll fall. Well, what will happen if I go, okay, I'm going to try it differently, but I'm going to try it again? Oh, I failed. Oh, what would happen if I picked myself up and say, I really am going for that? So I'm going to try again. I know of someone whose desire since he was a child was to be a police officer. And I won't tell you who, where, or what state. He did not pass the test the first time. He went back and studied and worked hard. He did not pass it the second time. I will tell you, he worked hard and it took him 4 shots before he finally passed the test to get in to become a police officer. He wanted it that badly. This was his heart's dream his entire life, right? And he worked hard at it and he worked hard at keeping it. He didn't just say, okay, I got it. He's like, okay, I struggled hard to get it. I'm going to work my butt off to keep it because I want this so bad that this is my life's purpose and it's not going to be taken away from me. Are you that passionate, right? What are you losing? So, no homework assignment, but some life assignments for you to consider doing. Do something different. Of all the things covered, find one that you can do differently each day, right? And for those of us that are in the Northeast and the winter is coming, it's a little bit more difficult, maybe, or not. Do something different. Can even do something different in the house. Just do something different. Small, not big. If you're having trouble resisting the impulse to walk over to the office next door, and I think we talked about this before, right? Someone annoyed you, right? To let someone have it, just keep on walking because we did talk about this because we talked about walking it off. Notice that it takes just a few minutes for the impulse to pass. Do something different. And when you feel those impulses, guys, recognize that you're feeling it. Take a breath and even stop if you find that you're like engaged in a conversation. You might say, halt, wait a minute, this is escalating. I'll be right back and go take 10 minutes to compose yourself, catch your breath, calm down, walk it off, and then come back. Say, okay, now this is where I'm coming from now. A different perspective. And the conversation will probably be way different than it would have been if you didn't calm down and walk it off. So there you go, guys. 5 days to focus. And it really is about how to manage the things that come up in your life, right? So that you can get the noise away, get the impulses away, get the things that aren't serving you out so that you clear your mind enough that you can focus on what it is you choose to focus on, not what just pops into your head. And again, a coach, I would love to serve you and help you through some of these processes. It is amazing when you have someone supporting you, how quickly you can elevate and how quickly your life can turn around. Take care, and I hope this has been helpful to you. 5 days to focus. Bye bye.